Hi everyone, welcome back to Tiny Kitchen Big Flavors. I'm Annette, and this is the cooking show where I teach you that you don't have to have a lot of space to cook delicious foods. I've actually cooked in big kitchens before, and to be honest, I find it somewhat annoying having to walk around a giant island to get to the refrigerator and then back again to get to the stove and the sink. It's exhausting. Tonight we're going to be making a creamy chicken and cheese tortellini dish, so stick around and let's get cooking. The term mise en place is a French term meaning all in one place. In cooking, it refers to having all of your utensils, your pots and pans, and your ingredients together, assembled before you start cooking. That way you're not scrambling around looking for something. You're not burning the butter while you're in the refrigerator looking for something else. So let's take a look at what we've got assembled for tonight's dinner. All right, so I've got my pots and pans here. I've got my chicken breast that I'm going to cut up and season and then coat in flour and saute some my utensils. I've got some chicken stock and some heavy cream, some chicken bouillon. I've got butter, mushrooms, some Parmesan cheese, my tortellini back there, onion, garlic, some garlic and herb Boursin cheese, and a little bit of baby spinach. So let's get going. I have my chicken breast here, and I personally don't like to bite into a big chunk of chicken, so I'm going to slice this right through the middle here and give it more of a cutlet feeling. And then I want to just chop it into bite-sized pieces, so I'm going to cut some strips here. And then turn it and slice it again. I'm only using one chicken breast because I'm only cooking for one, so I don't need a lot. All right, this is my standard blend of seasonings, spices that I like to use when cooking, which is just some salt, a little bit of pepper. I like to use onion powder, garlic powder, and paprika. I'm going to flip this over and season it on the other side. I'm going to get my pan going here. I didn't show you my olive oil when I was going through my list of ingredients, but I always keep it in the back of the stove right here, handy. So add a little olive oil to the pan. I'm going to add a little bit of butter to that as well. Now we're going to coat our seasoned chicken in some flour. Just give it a little light coat. I've got just a couple tablespoons of flour on this plate. Just going to toss it in there. It's just going to give it a little nice brown coating to it. All right, we've got our coated chicken in the pan, and I'm going to get that all covered with the fat in there with the olive oil, and we're just going to let this brown for a few minutes. Okay, I flipped over my cutting board so it's not on the side that I had the raw chicken on, and switched out my knife. I already wiped off these mushrooms. As I've mentioned before, I don't like to soak mushrooms in water because they're basically like little sponges. I just give them a little wipe with a damp paper towel and give them a little slice here. Next we'll get the onions going. I'll probably just use half of this onion. I just want a nice dice on this onion. Alright, my chicken has a nice sear on it, nicely brown. So I'm going to get this out of the pan so that I can get my mushrooms and onions in there. Let's add a little bit more olive oil back to this pan. maybe a little bit more butter. going to add just a little bit of salt to this. Not a lot. I don't want to over salt this dish. But this will draw out some of the moisture in those mushrooms and onions, and then start to pick up those bits off the bottom of the pan. That's just some good flavor down there. Something I didn't mention at the beginning was, that I thought would be a great addition to this meal, would be to add some grape tomatoes. Not to mention these tomatoes were getting a little prunish in my refrigerator, so it's time to use them. So I thought, what a great addition to this meal that would be. So I've sliced some of those in half, and I'm adding them to my mushrooms and onions here. I'm gonna now add some minced garlic. I minced 3 cloves of garlic. I'm throwing that in there. Okay, let's get this chicken back in here. Next, I'm gonna add some chicken bouillon and some chicken stock. And then we'll get the baby spinach in there. This is probably about a cup for now. We might add some more later. All right, I'm gonna get this spinach in here and wilt it down. The spinach was pre-washed, so I don't need to do anything with it. I'm only gonna add about half of the spinach because spinach is one of the ingredients that I use sparingly when I'm cooking. Spinach is very high in oxalates, and if anybody who is prone to kidney stone knows, you want to try and avoid high oxalate foods. So I cook with it not very often, but occasionally it's all right. All right, that wilted down nice. Doesn't that look yummy? It smells delicious in here too. I am going to use probably half of this block of Boursin cheese. So now comes for the creamy part. Let's just throw that in there. Get that mixed around. And when I say creamy, I mean creamy. So just to add an extra bit of creaminess, let's add some heavy whipping cream in there. And let's give this a taste for seasoning. Okay, I think we could use a little bit of pepper. I think the salt level is fine. Okay, my water's boiling. So I'm gonna salt it. And I'm gonna get about half of this package of tortellini in there. This isn't just a cheese tortellini. Again, I'm only cooking for me. The tortellini's been cooking for about 10 minutes now, and it's at the al dente stage, so I'm gonna drain it. And add it straight to this pan. Doesn't that look delicious, y'all? And we're done. Let's get this plated up so we can eat. Really, let's finish off with some grated Parmesan cheese. And top it off with a little bit of chive. Let's give it a taste. That is a hearty, satisfying meal, y'all. Until next time, happy cooking. How about some bloopers, just for fun? The tortellini, hold on, let me turn the air off.